the chairman of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Darrell Issa.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And phony scandals is the subject du jour. But let me just, first of all, thank the conference for the trust of letting me do the many investigations. The vast majority of the things that we investigate don't get called phony scandals by the President. The vast majority come from Inspector General's offices, 12,000 men and women throughout government who, in fact, uncover waste, fraud, and abuse. On a few occasions, they come because, tragically, American lives are lost. Whether it's in Benghazi or Fast and Furious, these rise quickly to the top. On occasions, it's a matter of civil injustice or outright wrongdoing that hits the press. But it seems that the basis for calling something a phony scandal, if I take the President's indications and in the entire Cabinet, is does it begin to go, in his opinion, to his political appointees? Our committee does not start off almost ever looking at a political appointee. We almost always start off with an Inspector General's report or a loss of life, looking at the facts available to us and then asking questions. That's what we do. That's what we have to do. We have to follow the facts. As we've followed the facts, two things have become very evident. This administration will say, no, you don't have a right to that discovery for any number of reasons. We've even been told to put in a Freedom of Information Act request, the kind of things that, that many of our groups listening today get told no when they ask. We send a subpoena. We even hold a cabinet officer in contempt. And what do? They go to the federal courts, and they say the courts don't have the right to decide disputes between the two bodies. That's where we are today. Our very liberty of, if the administration will not respect the obligation of Congress to do investigations, and then are told that the courts have no right to decide them, which is where we are with Fast and Furious, we find ourselves going to the public more and more and making the case with what we know and why we know it. And usually with men and women, whistleblowers, who are very much in peril of their jobs and reputations because they come forward with facts that help us. That's where we are today. Now, I think it's pretty clear that the American people understand that 2,000 weapons going to Mexico and to the drug cartels, they can call it a scandal, but they certainly need to call it wrongdoing. And the families do not call it, Brian Terry's family does not call it a phony death of Brian Terry when he was murdered at the border. Benghazi is not phony. 4 people are dead, people that shouldn't be dead if the warnings were heeded, and some of whom wouldn't have been dead if there'd been a relief effort mounted in time or if there'd been a plan for one. And certainly the American people don't think it's phony when they get misled for 10 months in the case of Fast and Furious and week after week in the case of Benghazi. As Senator Toomey said, the IRS is the current scandal. And there's a series of scandals there because the IRS is so dysfunctional that they can't spend right, they can't procure right, and yes, they can't do right by men and women who form organizations to assert their free speech rights. All of that is current at the IRS at a time in which Obamacare is going to dramatically expand the IRS's reach into every American's lives. So I think for all of us, when we look at the IRS targeting people because of what they believe, and we've had sworn testimony that they targeted conservative groups, but no evidence that they targeted progressive groups, and no evidence that any progressive group has been denied or excessively delayed. And when I tell you about Fast and Furious, sometimes, quite frankly, streaming something that's right out of the real world is better than just saying it. So if you could roll the video, I think it says more than I could ever say.
But with this endless parade of distractions and political posturing and phony scandals, Washington's taken its eye off the ball. And I'm here to say this needs to stop.
What we've seen as time has passed and more facts have become known, whether it's about the attacks in Benghazi and the talking points, or revelations about conduct at the IRS, that attempts to turn this into a scandal have failed.
Well, I was very outraged when he made that comment because he knew that my son was a victim of Fast and Furious. And if that's not enough proof for him, or he can come to Michigan and I'll take him to the cemetery. I says, and him and I can have a conversation about what a phony scandal is.
I don't believe him anymore. He's wrong. My son is dead. How could that be phony? I mean, it's wrong. It's not phony. It's not fake. My son is dead, and why is he dead? And all I'm waiting for, even to this date, is for someone to get back to me and tell me what happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will follow the facts and we will conduct investigations that ask questions. Conclusions will be for others. We will report the facts as we find them. If the President hides those facts, we will still find them and we will report them. And I want to thank you for your support in that effort.